Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fintech Brews. I'm Nikkee Rhody along with Eric Cotton, and we are on the road today at Augustana University with two very special guests. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hello. My name is Dr. Ray Leach. I am the Director of FinTech as well as an Assistant Professor of Data Science here at Augustana University.
And I'm Glen Herrick. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Pathward Financial, and excited to be here at Augie.
Yeah, we are incredibly grateful to be here with you guys. Augustana has been gracious to us and not only set us up with some new digs, but also it wouldn't be Fintech Brews if we were not sporting a beer. And so today, this is cool. Augustana University has their own brewing and fermentation minor. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yep,
Okay.
We just launched that this year.
And so the Brew and Gold Augustana beer also collabed with a brewing company called Remedy Brewing here in Sioux Falls, and they're all alum, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That's so cool. So thank you, and I'm going to start off with a quick toast. So cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
To that. And we're going to just roll right into why we're here today. Augustana University is the lucky kind of partner and recipient of a lead investment from Pathward for the creation of a Fintech Major. So Glen, will you talk a little bit about that? Why was this investment important for you personally and, of course, for Pathward?
Yeah, so, it really started as we're sitting around thinking about workforce development. And, as Central is in the same space, the broad space where Pathward is, banking, fintech, the intersection of those, there's maybe three other fintech majors in the country today. And even then it's a very emerging space. And so how do you develop talent that has finance and banking background, but also the technology, or at least a good understanding of technology to put these two together? We're serving fintechs and tech companies that are moving very fast, and using a lot more technology than a traditional banker has ever seen. And so finding those skill sets is really important. And so as we had those discussions with Augustana, there's such a fintech banking presence in Sioux Falls, it made it natural to partner with them on a program. And then I'm most excited about the fact that we can then start hiring students, but the other companies in Sioux Falls that are part of the fintech environment here are all participating along. So with us. So I want to make sure I mention Central Payments, one of the first to sign on, Premier Bank Card, MarketBeat, Capital Services, and Goal Solutions. So really companies coming together that maybe we compete in some spaces, but we're all in that same environment. The better that fintech does and the workforce in Sioux Falls, the better for all of us.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I love that so much. Ray, turning it over to you, why? Actually, let's talk a little bit about your background. Let's talk about Augustana and a little bit of kind of where you've come from and what your role will be in this Fintech Major.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my second full year at Augustana University. They hired me on to be a data science professor, and so I've been teaching computer programming, data science, business analytics courses. About a year ago, we got the investment from Glen here in order to start this fintech program, and they were looking for a director for this. My background's in econ and data science, and so they kind of said, Ray, you might be a good fit for this. They've seen some of the things I've done on campus in terms of curriculum development. They liked that I was a teacher. I guess the students really like me, which is really nice. And so they thought I would be a pretty good fit for something like this. And so, I see fintech at Augustana really as a step forward in order to put some more technology into more programs here. As a data scientist, I think there's room for statistics and machine learning and all of that techie stuff in pretty much every single major. And I see this as a big step towards putting that in our School of Business.
Ray, can you talk a little bit about what the major will entail from a class perspective, and talk a little bit about that, what the experience for the students will be?
Yeah, and so as Glen was listing off the companies there that we're partnered with, we did hours and hours of interviews with all of them. I've talked to all of you many times about what this thing should look like, as well as those other companies. And, talking to everybody in the community on what should this fintech major look like. We had a list that was a mile long of all the skills and everything that everybody needed from their graduates. And so it was a challenge in order to pare that down into a major that we could, offer to the students and still allow them to graduate in 4 years. But in terms of what the experience is going to look like, we've really repurposed and repackaged a lot of our current offerings, things in like accounting and finance, statistics and economics, as well as some computer science courses. But then we've also developed courses specifically for the fintech major. And so we'll be launching our first fintech class in the fall. That'll be Fintech 110, Principles of Fintech. And that's really going to be kind of a broad survey of what this fintech landscape looks like. Happy to say that class is already full. Yeah, we've got students on the wait list for that as well. Wow. And we've even taken seats out of it so that we have space for some incoming freshmen to take that as well. And so even if students don't necessarily know if they want a fintech major, the interest is there for sure.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, we're stoked about that. We'll launch that class first, as well as the other two classes as well. One of them specifically on how a bank operates, which was a big ask from the community. And so I know you both had graduates from Augustana work at your organizations, and you love the skills that they bring. One of the big asks was, could they possibly learn some more stuff about banking in general and kind of how a bank operates, the rules and regulations that go along with that.
It's such a big part, isn't it? Because a lot of people look at fintech and they think more tech than fin. But the fin part is really the rub when it comes to understanding the regulation and the dynamics and the complications of how a bank works. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really wise that you folded that in.
Yeah, and I think the current environment, whether we knew, the current banking environment at the time, we didn't, obviously, but I think it really reiterates the importance of this and the fact that fintechs that aren't banks are even understanding that we need to understand the banking system a lot better to be able to play in the regulated space. And then certainly with the attention of, not every bank's created equal. Mm-hmm. There are good and bad banks, compliance, regulation, and why that's so critical.
Well, and I'm glad you guys folded that in, right? Because Eric, you and I have talked about this before too, is rewind 10 years and this big movement where fintech was trying to displace banks. And banks didn't necessarily like fintech because it was like a competition thing. Mm-hmm. And I think over time, that tension and that struggle both realized they needed each other. So it changed from this, I'm going to displace a bank and I don't like fintech, to how can we partner together? And so what a great move to be able to bring all of those aspects and thoughts together to create this major.
And to start it from a young age. I think, I speak for a lot of us, we found our way into fintech. This didn't exist. You end up there and, most people you talk to there in the space love it, super passionate about it. And now to take individuals coming out of high school or in their, formative years saying, yes, leaping feet first into the space with this, the background of understanding the regulatory environment and the partnership that's required is incredible. I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah.
This major, I think, creates such opportunities for the graduates, if you think about what's going on, because they will be valuable to, certainly banks and players that play in that intersection of banking and technology, but they're also going to be coveted by banks themselves that, okay, we're competing with folks like that, so we need an understanding of that. And the graduates will also be valued by the tech players as well that know, okay, how do I connect into a bank or into a fintech program?
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons we started Fintech Brews way back in the day was this idea of being able to socialize a little bit more about Sioux Falls. When people think, flyover state, what is and where is Sioux Falls on a map? So, what's curious to me is anybody that's listening and says, who is Augustana and why Augustana? So, Ray, maybe you could go a little bit there talk about the background of Augustana as far as just the history as a university and a little bit more about the uniqueness of a fintech major being in Augustana.
Yeah. Well, we've been around since, I think, 1835 is when the university started, and that was in Hillsboro, Illinois. Over the last 150 years, we've kind of moved north and then west and eventually landed in Sioux Falls. I think it was 1918, if I check my notes here. That's when we finally settled here in Sioux Falls. And, in that time, we've gone through numerous name changes as well. I think the school was nicknamed the School on Wheels just because it traveled for a lot in the first 80 years. But then, we've been established since then. Recently, 2015, we changed from Augustana College to Augustana University to really signify this broadening of our academic offerings and programs and things like that. More recently, under the leadership of our president, Stephanie Herseth-Sandlin, we've had this Biking Bold initiative, which is really our strategic plan that's going to be driving us through 2030. And then with that, we've obviously want to do big things in athletics. And so we've got Augie Hockey, puck drop, October 14th this fall. We're very excited about that. We've got an acrobatics and tumbling team now as well. We've got improvements.
Eric, no tumbling.
Missed it.
No
That was
tumbling. That's your goal.
If you could do it over
when I was
again,
out of
you'd
high
be,
school,
yeah.
I think that would have been my calling.
No
Tumbling.
acrobats and stuff.
Not stumbling.
Probably the latter. But, that's why it didn't work.
But with that too, just advances in our academic programming. Like I said, we're trying to get technology into every major on campus. We're trying to increase enrollments here. And so we really saw, this partnership with a Fintech major as a way to grow those enrollments. I mean, Sioux Falls Fintech and finance community is blowing up.
It is.
And so if we can get more students here who are interested in that, maybe they can stay here in Sioux Falls as well to help out.
So there is a really cool statistic that corresponds with this. What makes Augustana University special in the fintech major space? How many other universities are there?
Yeah, I think Glen alluded to it earlier, but there are 3 other majors in the United States. We will be the 4th one. We'll be the first one that's at a liberal arts institution. Just because it's liberal arts, though, doesn't mean it's soft by any means. We've got a pretty good curriculum here where it's technically rigorous. It is STEM certified, so that's excellent for our international students who have generally 1 year of OPT after they graduate, where they can stick around. With a STEM major, they can stick around for 3 years. And both of your organizations have had interns from us, and you can attest to the quality of those, especially from the international students too.
From an employer standpoint, we've been really happy with as we've talked about the Augie grads, and I think you guys have had similar experiences. And my undergrad is in engineering, and I'm a STEM guy, but what I've been impressed with is the critical thinking skills and the ability to write and communicate from the Augie graduates. And the fintech industry and environment is changing so rapidly that the ability to adapt and communicate is really important for young people starting in the space.
Yeah, I think that brings up a question for me, and I'd like both of your input. But Ray, let's start with you. What tactics are you using to shape the curriculum for the fintech major?
Yeah, I think it really goes back to the advisory board that we've built out, and so being able to reach out to your organizations and see what's going on in the industry and really change the curriculum on a fly. I like to think that because we're a smaller liberal arts school, that we have a little bit more mobility, less red tape maybe than a bigger state school, in order to change things up pretty quickly. I mean, we got this thing off the ground in a year, so that kind of speaks
Pretty
to the
fast
quickness.
for academia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We were surprised.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yeah, very happily surprised
Yeah.
at how quick we were able to. Augie was able to move on this and
Yeah.
really embrace it throughout their organization.
And I think that's going to be necessary going forward. If we want to make this program a success, we need to be able to change things pretty quickly. And so I just think reaching out to the community on what things should be included in that curriculum is going to be really important.
I think Well, that's news to me today, is that the class is already full or oversubscribed already. So I was thinking back in the history, it was cold when we first had our discussion. So, in a period of 18 months, we'll have gone from an initial discussion to having a full class. That's pretty impressive in I think any industry, but certainly what we've observed in academia. So congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
We talked a little bit about speed and how this is an emerging space and a constantly changing space. So, Glen, as you guys think about your involvement and maybe the advisory board and some of those things, how do you see us as a community, all the participants that you mentioned, what are some things that we should be all thinking about as an industry as we help shape this major in your mind's eye?
Well, yeah, I think the beauty of this is having an active advisory board that was very involved in the developing the curriculum, and Ray and his team very good about reaching out to all of us. But then providing that constant feedback loop as the industry changes and where it's going and what matters to tech players in it, what matters to regulators, what matters to investors and owners of companies in this space. So, and the curriculum is being built with enough flexibility that these fintech classes can be adjusted as we go. So I think that's a big advantage of this program, and a selling point to students and their parents is you're going to come out of here not studying, the industry of 10, 20, 30 years ago. Of current day, you're going to get a chance to work in it, being here in Sioux Falls, be able to work, and we're all embracing some forms of remote work and hybrid work, but the advantage of being in Sioux Falls with, this larger advisory group offering internships, that you can actually sit beside a practitioner day by day and see what's going on and how it changes even over a year, as we all know, right? What we do a year from now is going to be a little different than what we do today.
Yep.
Timeline comes to mind for me next. So you've got a 110 class kicking off in fall of 23. What's next? How are you evolving this to become a full major, and when does that deploy?
Yeah, so students can start declaring the major right now, as I alluded to earlier. So the first class, Fintech 110, it's going to be offered every fall from here on out. If we have enough demand, maybe sometimes in the spring semester as well. But then we've got 2 300-level courses for Fintech. We're going to start those fall 25 and spring 26 for those 2. And then we'll have an internship component built in there, and students can kind of generally take that anywhere within their junior or senior year. So that would be like fall 25, fall 26-ish.
What's been the funnest part for you, being data science and nerdy and all that you are? I'm kidding. We know each other. It's okay. I'm not offending.
Long history.
Long history. What's been the funnest about building the FinTech courses?
I mean, I've built a couple courses since I've been here for our MBA program, and as well as our data science curriculum. I've built some courses for that, and that's always really fun to put that together and then see how it all fits, and then when you actually deliver it to see if it actually works or not. And we've been pretty successful with that so far, and so this is really a first step of building an entire major. And so I think just building it in general has been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of research that's gone into this, and when you finally see the pieces start to line up and fit, and then we brought it to our advisory board, and when was that, December, I think, was that meeting? And so when I presented that at our advisory board meeting in December, and everyone was pretty happy about the product that I developed, I mean, that felt really good. And so seeing all that work come together, and then of course getting it approved through the university as well as the Higher Learning Commission, that just felt like, yeah, we can do this thing, and that was really fun.
I'm going to challenge Nikkee, Rhody right here, right now to Ray, if you could send us the final test of the first semester after it's done and graded.
Okay.
Nikkee and I will each take it. You grade it, and we just see where it goes.
We'll deploy those results on the follow-up episode.
Perfect.
And I am certain that I will run circles around.
Maybe that can go in your performance review.
There it
right,
is.
as well.
Exactly.
There it is. That's exactly right.
Ray, have you determined the course capstone yet for the FinTech major?
Yeah, it's going to be the internship component to it. we've had interns at both of your companies, as well as some of the other ones that Glen had mentioned. We're just really going to formalize that. They'll be able to take that for credit then. I would be the internship advisor for that, and so there will be, check-ins with their advisors at their companies, as well as like exit interviews and things like that, just to see how they performed. But we think that really that experiential learning aspect of it is going to be the best capstone.
How many more hats can you wear? That's my next question, because that's a lot. But, I do honestly have to give a bit of a shout out to Augustana and the interns that I'll speak for on behalf of Central Payments and Falls Fintech. The interns that we have gotten are some of the most incredible young people that I have ever seen kind of run circles around Herrick for sure.
Knew that was
and
coming.
so that's been fun. But no, we have seen anything from kind of the finance and recon folks all the way down to software engineers and all kinds of stuff in between. We've hired two, one formally, two around the corner as full-time employees. And Glen, maybe your interns, how's that experience been from Augie students?
I'd echo that, Nikkee. I think that every intern we've had is same experience, and we've either hired or tried to hire every single one of them.
Yeah, the drive and desire to get involved, and I mean it was incredible to watch, and the output that benefited certainly Central Payments and Falls Fintech was incredible.
I'll take a little bit of a left turn here. Glen, I know this was really an initiative that was close to your heart. You've been in the industry for a while, and so I'm just curious, what are your aspirations for this major through Augustana?
Yeah. So for a while, does that mean I'm old?
No.
So,
Well, no.
I have been in banking. I think I last counted over 30 years. So, when I first started, and it's really been a reinvigoration the last few years of seeing all the new stuff in fintech. And so we've talked about this, some of the longer term visions. So this is step one. It doesn't mean it's going to end at an undergrad fintech major. At least that's our hope. I know that's what we talked about with the entire advisory board and the broader Sioux Falls community. We're starting to have companies that aren't even based in Sioux Falls now reaching out and saying, how do we get involved in this? So this is going to start Sioux Falls based, but it's going to grow from there. But eventually, we see it becoming where there's a master's component to this fintech program, and as important, continuing education component. So the professors that are developing courses and delivering content to undergrads and graduates, well, those can easily be repackaged to provide continuing education for our current employees that have a desire to learn more, advance in their career, develop their professional skills. And that to me is when we get all those wheels, then it kind of becomes a nice cog, because you're sending young kids right out of high school, all the way through master's programs to continuing ed for folks that are working today.
For those listening, students, parents of students, heading into college, how do they get in touch? Who do they get in touch with to learn more about the major?
That'd be me.
That'd be
Yeah,
me.
they can email me directly, raymond.leach@augie.edu.
Whoa, almost dropped the Gmail.
Drop the Gmail.
That's perfect. And same thing, if companies in the area or outside the area wanted to engage in some way, how would they do that? Would that also be an option to reach out to you and say, I've got some thoughts?
Absolutely, yeah. Since especially the Augustana magazine article came out, we've had a number of alumni in banking who
Show
have
it.
reached out. Oh yeah, we can show
Show
it.
it. The Augustana.
And then we've got, of course, the centerfold story here.
Ooh.
It's clean, Herrick.
with me,
It's
who-
clean.
Yeah, wearing a jacket even.
Wow.
I doesn't know how to hold my hands in that one. But yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah.
Well, I am incredibly proud of how quickly this has come along, and I thank you, Glen, for kind of lighting the way, frankly, and Pathward being able to make such an incredible investment. You know, we believe in Sioux Falls and all the surrounding communities and what we're doing here. When we started Falls Fintech, it was with this idea, the same thing, is how do we help advance fintech, be it for startup companies, and now in your case, rounding it out with students and ultimately continuing ed. I commend you both for your bravery and thought leadership on this. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you to Central Payments for your support.
You bet. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you, and we'll see you guys again soon.